welcome to another episode of Transform Your Career Success. I'm your host, Susie Mosley-Payne, and today I'm joined by my dear friend, Dr. Carrie Graham. Carrie is an adult learning strategist, but for this conversation, we're going to have a really great chat around taking control of your own career success and that you get to choose the path that you're on and that you get to choose the path that you're taking in the future. Welcome, Carrie. Thank you for spending the time with me. You're in the US, I'm in the UK. It's super exciting. So how are you today?
I'm well, Susie. Thank you so much for having me. I am excited to be with you and your listeners. Yes, I'm an adult learning strategist and founder, but I love to have conversations like this where it feels more like it's just a group of girlfriends sitting around a small cafe table having either a cool beverage or a warm beverage. So I'm here for it.
Oh, amazing. I can't wait to dive into the topic that we've chosen today. So being in control of your own career destiny is something that I am incredibly passionate about. I've had periods in my career where I felt massively misaligned and unfulfilled. And the only way that I've been able to turn that around and get back into a positive place of motivation and high performance is to take control of my own career success, essentially. So for this episode, we are talking to the women out there that are working in corporate. You are feeling stuck in a rut in your career, unfulfilled. Perhaps you've climbed the ladder and you've gone hell for leather, climbing the corporate ladder, and you've hit the role that you thought you were aiming for, and then you've plateaued and you're wondering if this is all there is. And you're feeling a little bit despondent in your career and wondering, what's next?
I find that this is a conversation that so many of us women, or I'm not even going to say so many, but all of us women have either had this conversation with a girlfriend or we've played it out, or maybe I should say, and played this whole conversation out alone and in isolation. And I think that's where the danger comes, is trying to make sense of these topics when we're by ourselves and not having a conversation and an opportunity to tease and work through these ideas and thoughts with someone that we can trust and someone that we know has either been there, is there, or are going to be going through that.
Yeah, I agree. You've got to really, in a work setting, I always surround myself with a few key people, men and women, who I feel I can really go to when I'm feeling a little bit low, I need a boost. I'm there to support them. They're there to support me. And we're just great friends in that work environment. And they're the kind of people who can really get you out of your own head and brainstorm how to get out of that demotivated state where you feel like you've plateaued or you feel like you're stuck in a rut. It's those kind of people, having them there to lean on because they understand they're going on their own journey, but they're in a similar journey to you, is much more, I guess it's much more impactful to have that conversation with someone like that rather than family or friends who aren't doing the same role as you and perhaps can't empathize to the same extent.
Yeah, it is really challenging when you are experiencing uncharted territory and our families don't always get it, so to speak. In my first career as a healthcare provider in college or university athletics, I did that. I went to college for my undergraduate degree, my master's degree, and I worked in that industry for a number of years, and my mother never understood it. No matter how many times I tried to explain it to her, she was incredibly supportive, but she just never fully got it. And that's okay. It's, to your point, it is our responsibility to create our own network, our own safety system of like-minded and empathetic people that we can turn to when we need some extra support.
Yeah, because I think what I've come to realise, as you say, is that it's wrong to expect our family or friends to understand when they're not working in that environment. They'll try and they're super supportive, but they don't do the same role. So it is difficult for them. And they're always going to be biased anyway, because they're going to be biased on what they think is right for you, and they've got your best interests at heart. Whereas having a support network in your work environment, or having a mentor, which is super, super powerful.
Yeah.
They're the kind of people who can really just brainstorm in a very unbiased way, and just really they're very leveling in terms of putting the options there for you and helping you choose the right way forward. I see a lot of women in corporate, particularly doing this show, I see a lot of women in corporate who, particularly when they get in their 40s and they've pushed so hard for the success that they've achieved, and then they're sitting there thinking, this is not what I thought it was going to be, or the work-life balance is a little bit out of whack, and priorities shift as we go through the different chapters of our life. But I think even back when you're in your 20s, everybody wants that work-life balance now. It's almost COVID changed it for a lot of people, and gone are the days where going and working in an office 5 days a week is the norm now. It's not. A lot of people work from home and have become very accustomed, myself included, have become very accustomed to not having to do 3 hours a day commuting to and from work. I don't even know if I could do it now, health-wise. I just think it'd burn me out massively. I don't think I could face into that. Could you?
Absolutely. It's, yes, COVID, but I also want to offer another perspective, and that's at this age, right? So I think when you are early on in your career, there's lots of things that you're attempting to figure out, and that requires its own source of support and confidence and grace, whether it's to others or to yourself. But when you are at middle age or middle career, you've done so many things, and it's being at that point where you've done it for so long, and either it has continued to light you up and you've been successful, or you've pushed and succeeded or been promoted, and now it's not what you want any longer. So it may be, you knew what it was going to be when you got to this point. You knew it. You saw it around you, and you decided, I'm going to keep going because that's what I want. And for whatever reason, whether it's things happening in your personal life, whether you are embodying a need to change, whatever the reason, and you now are at a place where I don't want this anymore. That is okay. And I struggled with that at one point in my professional career. I knew I was pushing and striving for this title or to be in a particular position, and I knew what it brought with it, and I still pursued it because that's what I wanted at the time. But at 51, I've simply changed what I want. It's not to say that, oh, I need balance, right? Oh, my life is so out of balance. No, my life is okay. My priorities have simply changed. And it doesn't have to be this big crisis. I think society would lead us, at least in this country, society would lead us to believe, oh, they're in a crisis and they have to make this huge change. It doesn't have to be all of that if you don't want it to be. But rather, I came to a place where I want my life to look different. That's it.
Me too.
I want my life to look different, and it's okay. And so now, how do I make that happen?
Yeah, I agree. And like you say, it's okay. It's okay to change your mind. I was smiling then when you were saying like middle age, middle career. I'm thinking I'm in complete denial that I'm in complete denial. I want to be in denial that I'm middle-aged in middle career.
That's step number one, Susie. Step number one.
Yeah, step number one. Let's quickly move on away from the age conversation. Oh dear. But no, I think you're right. If you get to a point in your career, I know it's definitely what happened to me. Is I was so ambitious in my 20s and I was, I'm going to do this. And actually, I went self-employed and ran my own consultancy from age 26. So for me, it was less about climbing the corporate ladder and more about collecting skills. It became a little bit of it was interesting because I had a human design assessment last week, and one of the things she said about my design is that you have a tendency to collect qualifications, and I thought that's definitely true of me. In my 20s, I collected qualifications, and my 30s and my 20s, I was on a mission to collect skills. And although I wasn't climbing the career in title, I really grew massively throughout my 30s. And then I hit 40 and I hit a complete career crossroads. Maybe it was my 40-year-old crisis, as you just said. Maybe I had a bit of a I did have a career crisis at 40, and I thought, I need to do something different. Maybe I will climb the career ladder, because I'd got in my consultancy, I was doing very senior leadership roles, but the title wasn't there because I was working in my own business. So I was calling myself anything that I wanted. And I thought, maybe I'll go and climb the corporate career ladder now. And I put a pin in, I've got 10 years and I want to be a transformational CEO, because my whole background is business transformation and tech transformation. So I thought, I want to be a transformational CEO. That's where I'm going to put my pin in, my goal, and I'm going for it. And I went for it. And then the more that I climbed over the last 4 years, and I'm just about to leave an absolutely incredible company, one of the world's largest technology companies that I've worked for 3 years that I'm just about to leave, which everybody will probably think I'm crazy. But because I want to get back to being self-employed again, I want my own company. It's what lights me up. And for me now, I've dropped the need to have the title and the need to climb the ladder, and I'm going back to what I know fulfills me and lights me up, and that is being in control of my own destiny and feeling like I'm making a huge impact. As an interim consultant, when you go into a role and you're needed for a specific thing, so you go in and it's do this, deliver what you need to deliver and the outcomes that you need to deliver, and then you're complete and you move on and you do the next thing. And that's what really, it's the challenge of that really excites me. And I think the point I'm coming to, because this is not about me at all, but the point I'm coming to is that for me was a very big decision. And I knew 2 years ago that I was out of alignment, but I battled with it. I really battled, and I tried so hard to fit myself into this permanent employee box, because I'd made the decision to climb the ladder, and I just didn't want it to be a waste. I didn't want to. It wasn't that I didn't want to admit I was wrong, because there's no mistake. It's all a learning, and there's loads of lessons and loads of skills enhancements in the journey. But I guess for me, it feels a little bit like coming full circle now, back into my own consultancy. And I'm super excited for the next chapter, because ultimately it's my choice and I'm in control. And like I say, just it's so empowering. When you sit down, you think to yourself, I'm in such a negative place. I feel so despondent. I'm so misaligned. I feel stuck in a rut, or I'm not getting my career isn't moving at the pace that I want it to move at, or I'm not earning the money I want to move. Just take a pause. For anyone that's listening to this, just take a pause and remember that you are in control of your own career destiny and your own career path. And it's okay to take left turns and do squiggly lines on your journey. It doesn't have to be a linear path. But ultimately, you get to decide, you get to choose. And just knowing that in your heart is so empowering, isn't it, Carrie?
It is. And it's when I was doing leadership coaching with young professionals, that was one of the things that I often found that they did. And I see it come up again with mid-age, mid-career women, is that comparison, right? So it's, oh, well, my peers are at this stage and they're doing X, Y, and Z, and why isn't it working out for me? Or I should stay because that's what I prepared for. It's the same conversation at middle age. It's, oh my goodness, I've been doing this my entire career, right? That narrative. And wow, like you just mentioned, Susie, I'm at this great company, and someone might say, oh, the money is great. All of those things are true. And it doesn't have to be a but. It can be, yes, all of those things are true. And I'm going to choose to honor my own path, right? Yes, all those things are true. And I'm going to think about the thing that started me on this path and let that rejuvenate me, because I can, right? I've told you before, I'm a firm believer in choice. We all have the power of choice. It might be two options that we're not fond of, but we still have choice, right? And so it can be, I've had this incredible career, and now I want to choose to be a professional dog walker. Like, I'm just making things up, right? That is okay, because it is your path. It's not someone else's path. And everyone has an opinion, just like everyone has, as the saying says, everyone has different, a specific part of the body that I won't say to keep it clean, but everyone has an opinion, and that's fine. But this is your journey. It's your journey. It's whoever is listening to this conversation. It is your journey, my friend. And so if your journey and the fire inside of you says, let's turn the corner and go in a different direction, that is okay. That is all the validation that you need. You don't need your friends and family or loved ones to say, yeah, I think that's a good idea. You don't need the company to give, I was going to say, you don't need the company to give you a great payout. I'm going to leave that where it is, but you don't need them to validate you when it comes to saying, I'm going to choose something different. It really does not have to be that hard. And I struggled with that earlier in my career, and like in my 40s, I struggled with making a very significant choice professionally. But I did it, and it's okay, because it's my path. It's my journey to orchestrate or to travel. And so I encourage women, especially at this stage, when you're thinking about transforming your career success, it's, how do you define success? Yes, you have everything you need to make a different choice. So you don't need anyone else's validation. You have the power of choice. And then what lit you up? What lights you up? What excites you? What gives you all the good, warm feelings? Choose that. Like, life is so precious. Life is so precious. Choose the thing that makes you feel good.
Yeah, I love what you just said there. So I think for me, when you can feel that fire inside of you slowly going out and simmering, rather than it being a burning flame, and because you'll know in your heart what lights you up. You will know. You might be fighting against it, like I was. You might be really pushing against it, and you might not want to even be conscious
Acknowledge
of it or admit it to yourself. Exactly. You don't want to necessarily acknowledge it, but you'll know deep down what lights you up. When I talk about business transformation with female or any kind of startup founder or small business or mentoring career women, the passion, it just comes out of me. I'm so excited about it. I'm so passionate about helping. You can I can feel that in my body, get so energized. And whereas other topics that I'm less interested and excited by. So you'll know yourself whether what lights you up, what really fires you up and motivates you in your career. And if you're not feeling that for your current role, then maybe take a step back and it's time to make a change. And that validation piece is really key, because if you do seek external validation, then you've got to be prepared that, one, people are not necessarily going to agree with you, and two, you'll probably get their projections. So I'll give you a very obvious example for me. I tell people that I'm leaving an amazing leadership corporate job for a huge technology company. I'm quitting the salary. I'm going back. I'm going to be self-employed, running my own consultancy. And it instills so much fear that they project that onto me. It's, wow, are you sure? Are you sure you're going to do that? Yeah. That's a big risk, isn't it? Or why would they just can't? Anyone who is entrepreneurial will probably get the decision, but for those who aren't, and the 9 to 5 is what they're passionate about, and that's okay. There is some projection coming, and I just think if you are going to tell people your hopes, your dreams, your aspirations, your plans, you've just got to be prepared that rather than validation that it's a good idea, they might actually say to you that they might talk you out of it out of fear, or they'll project their own beliefs or their own feelings onto you. So you really do need to look for validation from yourself, because like I say, you'll know what lights you up and what energizes you and really gets you out of bed in the morning.
Yeah. Susie, when you talk about external motivation and internal motivation, I always think of it in this way. When you are externally motivated, I'm sitting in front of a window and the trees are just blowing, and that's how you are. When you, meaning the global you, when you are externally motivated, you're constantly swaying and moving, because whether it's motivated by money, motivated by attention, whatever the external motivation is, it can be exhausting because you're constantly moving to seek that external validation. But and it can be scary. Let me acknowledge that if you are someone who has always functioned from an external validation perspective, and you want to be in a place of internally motivated, it can be a scary shift. However, when you are internally motivated, you are solid. You are rock solid. It doesn't matter what anyone says, you will not be swayed unless you choose to be swayed. And that's where the power comes from. And so it's the world that I used to work in. Given the demands of the job, my work depended on other people saying, yeah, that's okay, we can do that. That was just the nature of the job. And so when I left that environment and I was working for myself as a consultant, I brought that with me, and I didn't realize I brought it with me and that I was seeking external validation. And the prime example, the first month in my business, I had to make a decision, and I was like, who can I call? Who can I email to agree with me or to point me in the right direction? And it happened very quickly. I realized, no, I am divinely made as a Christian, right? Like, God is the person who has already validated me, and therefore I don't need anyone else's approval. And it instantaneously, I went from a place of like movement, literally like, where's my phone? Where are the email addresses? To a place of literally, I sat back and I settled in. Oh, I can make this decision. I literally have everything I need within me to make the decision. Even if it's a skill set that I don't have, I have enough common sense to say, I don't have that skill set. Let me find someone else. So everything we have is within us. And so I always encourage people to function from a place of internal motivation. And once you have that internal motivation, you will see that you don't need anyone else's validation. You will validate yourself. You will take an inventory of your life and an inventory of your skills and say, yeah, I got what I need. I got what I need. But it's oftentimes easier said than done. And so I think so often when people listen to podcasts or other conversations, they're like, yeah, that's easy, but they make it sound so easy, but. And I want to from my heart, I really want to encourage other women, other individuals that you need to find a place of quiet where you can quiet your mind and think about it. Think about, what do you really want and why do you want it? And it doesn't matter what the why is, but you need to understand what the why is, right, Susie? Like, I have no idea why you want to leave your company. And it doesn't even matter. Like, truth be told, there are other things for me to wonder about. But as long as you understand, and as long as you understand the why, well, that's all that matters. That's all that matters. And then you get to
So
choose.
powerful.
That's the fun. That's where the fun comes
That's
in.
the fun.
Yeah, we get to choose.
Yeah, that's so powerful. I think the other thing is, if you're looking to aspire to a different career or a different role that you're not skilled up in, then that's okay too. Then it becomes a different piece of, how can I create that skill? What career development plan can I put in place that gets me to close the gap and enable me to step into that role or that new career path that I'm looking to do? But ultimately, like you say, taking control of your own career is just so empowering. Having the power to choose, or even knowing that you've got the power to choose should you need to take that decision, that's empowering too.
Yeah.
It can help you go, you don't need to feel stuck, because you're not. If you know that you've got the power, you'll make the decision when's the right time for you. Maybe it's not today, maybe it's not tomorrow. Maybe you want to sit on it for a few weeks, a few months, however long. I do believe there's no such bad thing. There's no such thing as a bad decision, because every left turn or right turn that we take in our career on that squiggly path, there's a lot of learnings, a lot of lessons. I think where the learnings don't come is when you sit in your comfort zone and you just keep going and doing the thing you've always done, and you just keep ticking the days off. I find that incredibly sad if you're in that space and that's what you're doing, because life is just passing you by. If you're unfulfilled, unhappy, try not to sit in it for too long, because like you said, Carrie, life is way too short to be doing something that you don't enjoy. And if you want to do something completely different, go and run a dog walking business or actually my chosen career path, should I not be working in corporate, I think my dreams when I was younger was to go and be a scuba diving instructor. So
really,
yeah, that's what I always wanted to do, but I'm too much of a homebody to go and work somewhere, so I just do it when I go on holiday now. Yeah, that'd be my
and
that's scuba with the sharks.
And that's the thing, like, I don't think we have to fully let go of, when we think about what our dreams were as children. Mine was, and I'm going to use the language of my like 14-year-old self, I want to be an international lawyer. I want to go be an attorney and practice law in other places. That's the language of my 14-year-old self, right? I have no desire at this point in my life to get a law degree after like that. I don't want to do. However, there's an element of social justice that still sticks with me, right? And so yes, I'm not going to go back to law school and attempt to pass the bar and do all those things. I love international travel. And I also am an advocate of social justice, and I work. And so I am committed. The things that I do, I try to always remember that there is a social justice element to it. And so that is a choice that I can still hold on to. If I'm going to volunteer with an agency in my own time, I can still be involved in that regard. And so when we think about taking our skills, our decades worth of skills, and transferring them to something else, whether it's building on them or taking them out of an existing environment and putting them in another environment, that is a choice that we get to make. And something you said earlier that really helped me when I was, I would say, at my most stuck in my career, in my organizational career, it was feeling like or believing that I didn't have an option, right? Like believing that if I leave this, it's comfortable, I know what it is, but if I leave, I'm going to have to start over. And it wasn't until I put that down, like I literally put that way of thinking down because it wasn't serving me, but rather, oh, you feel stuck because the work that I was doing was no longer, it wasn't evolving as I was evolving. So you have to recognize that sometimes we as women and at middle age and all the things, we evolve, but the work doesn't evolve with us. And so every year that I got older, the work stayed the same. I was getting more stuck. I was feeling more stuck. And so when I realized that, and then when I realized I get to choose, and I get to choose how I transfer my existing skills. Like literally everything changed for me. Everything changed for me. I started looking at every day as an adventure. And that's where that play comes in, right? Do things that are light. Okay, I have a heavily scheduled day today, but I'm viewing everything as an adventure. What's going to happen today? Like that, just doing that alone will really change it truly will change your perspective.
Amazing. So powerful. Well, it's been such a great conversation, Carrie. I've loved it. Thank you so much. I love these kind of chats. It's been so good to catch up with you as well. So for anyone listening, I hope that you've enjoyed this. Remember, take control of your own career success. You get to choose and you get to work out what your path is and what lights you up. So I hope you've enjoyed this episode and you've been inspired by the conversation. Thank you for watching and listening, and have a great week. And thank you so much, Carrie, for joining me.
Oh, Susie, thank you. Thank you. I encourage others, if they want to hear more about my perspective and in all of this, they can go to my website, drdrcarriegraham.com, and listen to some other podcast episodes where I share some related information on this perspective, because we shouldn't have to do life alone and in isolation. So Susie, thank you so much for having this conversation where we get to talk about that being validated, the power of choice, and all the other good things.
Amazing. Thank you so much. See you soon, Carrie.